Hello and welcome to the Run.down. I'm your host, Winnie Pooh, and I'm here with Tyrese. It's at London Theory on Twitter. The Knicks dropped a game to the Pistons, 124-119. Second out of a back-to-back, but I don't particularly think that's an excuse for whatever the fuck that effort was for large portions of the game. We'll get around to talking about that. But before we do that, I do have to announce that BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform. Your number one source for online betting, from the earliest odds to in-game live betting. BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. The largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, NHL to entertainment and political props. Head to BetOnline today. Get in the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline. The game starts here. I'm still amazed that I don't know what's going on here. They still haven't given us new ad copy for like fucking months now. Apparently they don't want anybody betting on the NFL playoffs. So shout out to them.
I'm glad I didn't bet on this game, though. Future Giants quarterback Sam Darnold is not having a good time and probably just lost himself hundreds of millions of dollars. So.
You could say that it might have been a good game to bet on precisely for that reason, since they were favored. But
what?
That's right.
Okay. All right.
I'm just gonna start off with two things. This is me and you did the post game, right, for OKC? Was it me and you? Me and somebody. No, it was me and Colin that did that. You're basically Colin. So I did the post game for that, and I killed Tom Thibodeau during that post game along with Jalen Brunson for what I thought was just really poor tactical adjustments, particularly in pick and roll coverages. I gotta say, this is the third time we played the Pistons, the second time in a row that we have simply allowed Cade Cunningham to play against drop coverage against Cat, who we know is not a particularly good drop defender, to be generous. And then on top of that, so you're giving him the coverage he wants. They got bailed out in the first half to some extent because Cade just, one, wasn't very good, and two, got into foul trouble. But on top of that, he also decided, for whatever reason, at the start of the third quarter, Cade made a couple tough shots on McCall, including a pull-up three, which was, I don't know. It was just a really great shot. I don't think you need to overreact to that. And he immediately put Josh Hart on him for one possession. Hart picked up a foul, pushed him in the back, gave up an and one. And then he put OG on him for however long after that. OG was terrible. Like awful defensively tonight. And it wasn't just limited to Cade Cunningham. He gave up a fucking straight blow by to Ron Holland somehow in the fourth quarter, which was insane. But it was a bad adjustment. And then he left them in drop until about 5 or 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter when they started switching, hedging, trapping, showing and recovering, whatever. Then they started mixing it up, and they actually had some success, at least getting the ball out of Cade's hands and forcing other guys to beat them. And I don't even know what to make of this, because this is to me just been a consistent theme for years now of Tom Thibodeau's defenses at the end of games, giving up wide open threes because you're overreacting towards the ball. I don't know what the coverage was supposed to be, so I can't speak to that. All I know is they end up giving up consecutive back-to-back wide open corner threes to the best shooter on the fucking team, Malik Beasley, one of the best corner shooters in the league. And that you can tell me that the players didn't execute whatever Tibbs was telling them. That's possible. It's very possible. But if they're not executing it, then it falls on him for that. And I don't know. I'm at a loss for words, because I have really not look offensively. I think there's always stuff that you can clean up, but largely throughout the course of the season, I'm not worried about the offense, even when they have these weird stretches where they look like shit or whatever. Tonight was obviously not really a case of the offense looking bad or anything. But defensively, it just feels like he wants Cat to be something that he is not. I'm sorry, Cat is not ever going to be a good drop defender. And that's not to say you should never play drop, but there needs to be adjustments much faster in games. And they also need to be the correct adjustments. Like the adjustment of putting OG on Cade was a bad adjustment. And I thought that in real time, because OG had a terrible defensive game right from the jump. right from the jump of this game, OG Anunoby was not good. So to then give him the assignment after I thought Mikal, and I know people are going to kill him no matter what, whatever he does, people are going to kill him. I thought Mikal was fine tonight. I thought he had a good game, probably his best game in a while. Offensively, for sure, obviously he was cashing threes, which was really nice to see. But defensively, I thought he was the one guy that really made Cade work. Really made him work. It was getting over screens, fighting to get back in front of him. I think there was one where he blocked Cade, and then did Cat block that into our own hoop? That was a fucking crazy possession. But I just did not understand that. I did not understand the pig-headedness, to some extent, stubbornness to stay in drop for as long as they did covering Cade. And at the end of the day, the Pistons punished the Knicks in transition throughout the game, especially early. And they punished them from a tactical perspective throughout the game because Tibbs would not adjust his drop coverage at all. And you can't say anything other. I know people are going to bitch about the Cat offensive foul call at the end. I thought that was weak too. But I have a hard time caring about the fucking officials in a game where the Knicks got, how many free throws they shoot? 30 or something? I thought it was a pretty fair whistle, which was weird both ways, honestly. I'm not going to complain about that call. It is what it is. But the Knicks lost this game because they did not come out focused. They did not come out either half playing with the appropriate level of energy and effort that was required against a team that, if you watch this Pistons team enough, they just fucking go the entire time. I mean, I think, was it you? Somebody sent it. But I remember watching that game last week where they were down 18 to the Warriors with fucking 5 minutes left, and they nearly came back and won the game.
And they should have won the damn game, but the fucking refs messed up the Cade tipping the ball. But yeah.
So this is a team where you can't feel good at half. You can feel good about all right, we came back in the second quarter and took the lead, and now we're up 4. Okay, you can feel good about that, but you have to come out and bring that same energy you had in the second quarter to erase an 11-point deficit and give yourself a 4-point lead. You have to come out with that same energy, and they didn't do it. It's like they just expected the Pistons to eventually give up, and they didn't. Credit to them. And shame on the Knicks. Shame on Tom Thibodeau for what I thought was a pretty poor defensive game from him in terms of his adjustment, or lack of adjustment, I should say, to what was killing the Knicks. Prez has talked about this before. I think the last 5 games or whatever, they've gotten fried in the short mid-range, and they got fried again in the short mid-range. And yeah, you can be like, well, those are shots you want to give up. Sure, if they're actually contested and they're not in rhythm shots.
And they're not going to the good shoot. Yeah, they're not going to the good mid-range shooters. The teams that we've been giving those shots to are SGA, Levine, Vucevic, Cade. It's
Kobe White.
Why are you giving shots like that to those players instead of trapping, getting the ball in their hand?
Also,
coming off the level of screen.
Why did it take until the fourth quarter for the Knicks to be like, oh, Asar Thompson is on the floor, let's fucking help off of him? Why did it take that long? It should not take that long and again, you come out in this game, you have to know your personnel, right? Okay, who are the 3-point threats on this team? Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley. How many threes those guys hit in the first half? 7? 8?
I think it was 7.
And they were open. I think Malik Beasley made one that you're like, oh, all right, that's a tough shot. But he's open on some of these. And it's just, you're overreacting like this. And this has been a problem for them all year. This is all year I've been talking about this. They clearly are not, and maybe this is on Tibbs, maybe this is on them. I don't really give a fuck who it's on. You have to know who you're helping off of, who to rotate to, who to leave open, who your last year's. You cannot help off of Tim Hardaway Jr. on a spot up because Tobias Harris is in the post. Let Tobias Harris post up forever, for all I give a shit. And if you want to send help, have the fucking center come over. Don't help off of the perimeter. OG had one where Tobias was posting up Brunson, and OG for some reason digs down, and I think that was one where Hardaway Jr. got a wide open 3 out of it. These are just stupid possessions. This is not good help. This is not, oh, well, the Pistons just look really good execution. What can you do? This is dumb help. This is stupid decision-making from your players. And it is a scheme at this point that, again, I understand that you have difficulties because Jalen Brunson is defensive liability and Cat's defensive liability. You have to accept that and then build a scheme around the best way to mitigate their weaknesses. And right now, like they had a good stretch for a month. Right now, they're in a bad stretch. And at some point, you have to make adjustments to that. This is 2-5 in their last 7 now. So this is something where it is time to get fucking serious because this, like, I know they came out yesterday and smoked the fucking Bucks. I didn't watch that game live because I actually played basketball yesterday. It was great. But I watched that today. I didn't think their defense was particularly great in that game. I thought they just scored at will, and the Bucks don't really have the personnel to hurt them offensively in the way that other teams do, and the Bucks can't push in transition the way a team like Detroit does. But let me tell you something. There is a trend here. Teams understand that this team right now, they're not getting back in transition. They are not executing the scheme. And if they are executing the scheme, they're not making second rotations. They're not making third rotations. They're not on a string, and they know where the gaps are. They're finding them, and it is what it is. At this point, look, they're 26-15. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend the season's over and we should all fucking doom-monger. But what you're seeing in these last 7 games, these stretches happen, but you have to make adjustments and find your way out of it. And the buttons that Tibbs pushed tonight were bad. They were bad, and they were wrong, and they were too late. Because when he finally made the fucking adjustment, hey, let's not just play drop against Cade Cunningham. Yeah, the Knicks defense looked a lot better, and they got more stops, and Detroit had to work a lot harder and whatever. And all of a sudden, yeah, you're getting stops, and yeah, it's great. But you can't wait that. Like, why are you waiting that long? Why could you not? Okay, Cade Cunningham comes out to start the third quarter. He's cooking. Why do you not take the timeout right then, right? Because they're down 4 when he finally calls the timeout. And, okay, this is what we're going to do now. But no, there's not that. It wasn't that. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I credited him on Christmas Day when they switched up how they were covering Wemby. But they waited again in that game. They waited until about the 5 or 6 minute mark in the fourth quarter before they made the magical fucking adjustment of, hey, what if we have Precious and OG cover the 4-5 and just have them switch everything? And it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm not a genius, but I think I would have probably tried that before then. And I understand maybe you don't want to, like, you're trying to buy time before you kind of put that on OG in that situation. But today, it's just it's another game where you're looking at it and you're like, why did this specific adjustment take so long? And on top of that, before you adjusted, your big fucking adjustment was putting OG on Cade, who was bad today. He was terrible on defense today. Again, got cooked by Ron.
He's been bad most of the season. Like, this is a recurring trend that's been happening for the majority of the season. The majority of the season. Like, I get he had a lot of like blocks and steals in December, but like he has been bad on an island defensively, and that is what you paid OG Anunoby $212 million to do, is to hold up on an island against the best star wings and star guards in the NBA, and he hasn't been able to do it consistently enough. The offense.
I think he's over helping. I think he's all over the place defensively. He's trying to do way too much, and he's not focused on his assignments.
And I get like he's like having to cover up for a really bad defensive personnel infrastructure between Cat and Brunson, but it's also like at some point, dude, like you have to play your game. And if he isn't put in a position to play his game, then again that does fall on coaching to where like the scheme needs to be able to help OG Anunoby play his game defensively, because that is your chess piece. Like that is your king. That is the person that makes this defensive the defensive scheme work.
It's your queen.
Whatever, I don't play chess. Bad, horrible fucking hoops. But yeah, I don't know what this team is going through. Like as a team, it just kind of feels like there's some sort of disconnect between coaching, between like the rest of the players in the starting lineup. Ironically, the bench was decent, and by the bench I mean campaign. But like,
I didn't really understand. I thought like I kind of liked in the first half that he played the bench as much as he did, and I was like, oh, that's good. Like this is. I don't really understand again, like the second half, I just don't get much of anything that Tibbs did in that second half. The rotations were really weird. The lineups were really weird. Did Cat play the entire second half?
I think he did because and if he did come out, it was like really brief. No, he came out briefly in the third quarter.
Like look, Precious has been bad, so I get you don't want to give him an extended run, but like, it felt like he used him at the 4 next to Cat to either. I know he definitely did it at the start of the fourth quarter. I don't know if it was if it began in the end of the third quarter, but like that was, I don't know, that lineup just hasn't been good, and then I don't know. It just I look. I have to go back here and look through it, but like I just felt it was odd. I thought the rotations were very odd in the second half, and I didn't get it. I didn't really understand leaving Payne in and taking out Deuce.
I thought that was the right move. That was the right move. That was the right fucking move. I'm sorry. Like
I just don't agree. I don't agree. Your defense was a problem. I don't want Campaign dribbling. Like Campaign had a great first half. Happy you get it. That's like a bonus. You get that, and you're happy with it. You got it. Like you could tell once they went zone, Payne was not comfortable. He didn't know what he was doing, and he was not good from that. Like in the second half, and that's fine. I'm okay with that because he's a veteran minimum player, right? Like that's what it is. I would have much rather kept Deuce in. I thought Deuce was fine defensively.
I thought he got fucking fried all game. No way.
He was fine defensively. He was fine.
He got Beasley fried him.
Beasley fried him in the first half. What did he do in the second half when Deuce in the game? Nothing. He did nothing.
Because he was on Cade, and then Cade fried him.
Yeah, so leave fucking. So you're bringing Mikal and OG back in the game. Why do you need Campaign out there?
Okay. What happened was Campaign hit a 3, and like again, Campaign had a good first half. He hit a 3. I'm not gonna say like I didn't want Campaign out there, but I can at least understand the logic. Okay, Campaign hit a timely 3. There's momentum. At least like ride it, see where you can get with it. But
your defense is a fucking train wreck, and your move is to play Brunson and Payne together.
I don't know what the fucking plan is. Like Deuce wasn't giving you shit.
I just disagree. Like I think Deuce's defense was fine. Yeah, Cade got him. Cade got him because he's bigger than him.
Deuce got fucking fried all game. Yes.
No.
Watch the game.
I watched the game. He did not get fried all game. He got fried at the start of when he came in the first half, and then guess what? Then they locked up. They locked up. Their best run came with Deuce on the floor in that game. That's a fact. That happened. It happened. It's exactly what happened.
I don't think you watched that stretch.
I watched that game. I agree that Deuce started the game off very badly. And then magically, the Knicks started switching more. And wow, all of a sudden, Malik Beasley's not getting open threes, and Tim Hardaway Jr. is not getting wide open threes. Like, this is not rocket science. You did not have to, this was not like a super challenging tactical thing to do. But for some reason, the Knicks refused to stick to switching. That burned them at the end. Again, it's whatever it is. It's fucking 117, 116, whatever the score is. And it was 118, 117. They run a screen with Hardaway Jr., who Brunson was on. Bridges should just switch that. They initially switched it, and then Brunson was on an island against Cade. Why are you trapping that? Let Cade be on an island with fucking 7 seconds left on the shot clock at the top of the key with nothing going on in an ISO with Brunson. The best thing he's going to do, the most realistic outcome of that possession is he's going to take a mid-range jumper. Why is that a problem? That's actually the time where you need to be okay with him taking a mid-range jumper. Because a 2 still leaves it as a one-possession game. A 3, okay, you leave a certain guy open, I can be fine with the 3. But you give up a fucking corner 3 to Malik Beasley? Come on, man. That's just bad. That's bad. And they weren't on a string. You could see it because Bridges goes over to help. And look, I'm pretty confident this is what Tibbs must have been calling for it. Because I've seen them do this years. For years, I've seen end of game, end of shot clock possessions. When it gets late in the clock, Tibbs loves to try and double the ball handler and force rotations. We saw, you remember they did this with Marcus Smart a couple years ago in a game where the Knicks ended up losing. I forgot which game. I forgot when it was. But, you can find these possessions throughout the history of Tom Thibodeau's time in New York. And he loves doing that late double and forcing that. And that's your bet But you know what? It's a shitty bet when you end up giving up a corner three to Malik Beasley. What the fuck is Beasley shooting on the year from three?
44%.
Yeah, like that's just bad. Like that, a 44% 3-point shot, wide open in the corner for him, is a much worse outcome than Cade, whatever he's shooting from mid range. If he's shooting 55% from mid range, that's a much worse outcome than Cade taking a mid range pull up in ISO against Brunson. Even if he has a size advantage, he can just shoot right over him. I don't get that at all. We can agree to disagree with the Deuce thing. I didn't think that's why they lost the game. I didn't love that lineup. And to be fair to Tibbs, he did pull it as soon as they called that timeout. So whatever. But like, yeah, I don't get it. I think this was, if you're on the I'm out on Tom Thibodeau boat, these are the type of situations that, to me, are why you would feel that way. Because, it's not enough to just be good. Like, if the Knicks win 50 games this year, which they are on track to do anyway, and they're the 3 seed and they win a first round series, it's really hard to just be like, well, that's enough. I mean, look, circumstances and all that shit will dictate those things, but these are the type of games, these singular games, this game, the OKC game that we just watched on Friday, where it's one thing to get beat. It's another when you feel like you're watching a game where the weaknesses and the things that are beating you are directly related to what you're trying to do anyway, what you're trying to execute from a defensive tactical standpoint. The Knicks aren't going to fire Tibbs, which, okay, I mean, that's fine. They're not going to fire him in season anyway, and I doubt they fire him after this season. So this is kind of why I hate generally talking about this. But if you are if you want to be critical of Tibbs or something, this is the type of shit to be critical of him for. I don't think they're tuning him out, but I do think that they're having real issues right now trying to execute whatever he's trying to get them to execute defensively. And teams, we've, like you just said, right? SGA, obviously Zach LaVine, Kobe White, all these various guys that are fried us over these last 5, 6, 7 games. These are the type of guys that are capable of doing that when you're giving that. Like when that is what you're scheming to kind of give up, and your drop defender, like if it's Mitch back there instead of Cat, it's a different conversation, right? In terms of how those possessions work out. But it isn't Mitch, it is Cat. So I don't know what to say other than that.
I don't know. I think the team kind of they're just disjointed. I don't know what happened. I feel like the OKC game has kind of broke them. And it makes no sense. You had a really solid game, and yeah, you fell apart in the fourth quarter, but the way that they've just responded the last week and a half has just been atrocious. So I wish I had an answer. And clearly it's there because you saw it against Milwaukee, you saw it against the Raptors, but they just look off. And hopefully they can treat the Philly game as a get-right game. But yeah.
I mean, the way they're playing right now is they're going to let any team hang around because they're just not playing serious basketball. They're defensively anyway. Offensively, I was pretty encouraged by the last couple games. I think they're back to understanding what they're trying to do. And they did a lot of good stuff today in terms of having Mikal screen for Brunson or OG, or having Hart initiate a possession and then running Brunson off of a rub screen or an Iverson cut coming across, whatever. They were getting good stuff. So I was happy to see that. Offensively, I think they are out of whatever weird ass funk they were in for a while. But yeah, defensively, it's just not good. All right, some comments here. Jordan about post. This is from James Edwards. Tibbs on the last 2 possessions. We had a chance. We had the offensive foul, came down, and we're in a scramble situation. They got a good look at 3. That's not a real answer.
That's bullshit. Because, why did they get a good look at the 3? Because you doubled, for whatever reason, at the top of the key when Malik Beasley's open in the corner and nobody went to cover.
Yeah.
Their 2 best shooters are on the wing next to Cade and in the corner opposite from Cade. The ball is going there because the other guys in the court are Isaiah Stewart in the fucking paint and Asar Thompson in the corner. You know where the ball is going. Why are you focused at all on like doubling Cade, knowing that they're gonna swing it. That's just logic.
And if you're going to do that, then the thing is for me, if you're gonna do that, clearly not everybody understood they were going to do that, because if you're gonna do that, then
somebody needs to recover. Somebody needs to recover.
You need to you need to get that, and you see these possessions consistently through games, especially in this recent stretch, where they get attracted to the ball, to go to the ball, and then they swing out to a shooter, and no one's making that rotation. And that is about communication. That's about not being on the same page defensively. That was stuff that we saw very early in the season that was very concerning, and they cleaned it up for a while, and now they've regressed again. They have to clean that up, because you're going to keep playing teams that can punt. Like, every team in the NBA has at least one guy that can burn you on that. At least one guy. Like, you have to clean that up. That cannot be as easy as it is. And then you've got to be perfect. Like, then you have no margin for error down the stretch, right? Like, look, they made dumb turnovers on the stretch, but you shouldn't be in that position. Like, you should be ahead in this game. If you should be up 7, 8 points, whatever it is, you should be up. You shouldn't be behind. You shouldn't be needing to be perfect down the stretch. And they clearly didn't do it. Sorry, getting to some more comments here. 1 second. Here we go. Sorry, I'm going to get to some more. Poxer. Also, our first quarter starts and third quarter starts have quickly become some of the worst in the NBA. Yeah, this is now a thing, especially the first quarter stuff. Third quarter, I think they're still like really good in terms of net rating, so I don't know what to make of that. But yeah, the first quarter starts have been poor, especially defensively, to start these games. Consistently now, they're like not having good defensive first quarters. And I think the thing that stands out, I don't know if you noticed this, Tyrese, but it just feels like every single team to start these games, they're so easily able to get into the paint and get us in rotation and then just get whatever they want. And then if they don't make the shot, then you have guys crashing the glass and you're having all these extra possessions. I mean, that's what Detroit did today really well in the first quarter. They got extra possessions and then they would just push the tempos. Even off makes, they're pushing it, right? Like the Knicks are just not, it's like the same, you're losing these ways so consistently. And yeah, maybe some of that can be pointed at in terms of like, this is the roster construction. Like this is just the roster you have. But I do think some of that is also down to some lack of focus and then just tactical stuff. But
honestly, part of it's like Cat doesn't want to pick up fouls early, and he's kind of playing defensively. Like, he doesn't want to pick up fouls early, but he still picks up the fouls anyway. So it's just like really frustrating to see. So he's just like not offering any resistance early defensively in games, and it kind of just sets a tempo when it's like teams know that he's like scared of foul trouble, so they're just getting whatever they want, and the shot quality is so good for the other team. Meanwhile, the Knicks are like waiting for Jalen Brunson to probe and feel the game out, and like fondle the ball and make love to it and feel every seam, and then he gets the ability to like either he's going, which means the team is going, or he's not going, which means that he's immediately going to like hyper drive mode and I don't take threes mode and I'm going to do nothing but drive and kick mode, and it's just like, yeah, I don't know, man. I wish I had like more constructive analysis. It's just frustrating.
I don't know why like Detroit going into zone was like this fucking mind-bending thing.
Exactly, like
4 possessions.
Just put Cat in the middle of the zone, and you have shooters everywhere else. Or if you want Cat to space, get Hart and get Hart in the short roll. Like, that's the reason why you start Hart, is so that you have him as a screener and then he can do stuff in the short roll, or he can like make a straight line drive. I don't understand how zone is flummoxing this team. You are very good. You have a bunch of connected passing and a bunch of shooting. How are you getting stifled by a zone? How is zone working?
Yeah, I'm with you. Vivek Dadanya says, after Cat decided to foolishly drive on beef stew in the first half, it wasn't the same on both ends.
He was hurt with his thumb. I think he might have jammed it. So
I think he was kind of fine, to be honest. I didn't think that one play. I mean, his turnovers were really frustrating today, but I mean, 2 of them were like, one was like that grazed deflection off of Asar's deflection, which I mean, that's really hard to put on him. The other was that moving screen at the end of the game, which I can't believe they called that. Again, I'm not going to blame the Knicks loss on that, but I couldn't believe that call in that moment. And yeah, I mean, like I get it. He definitely was not the best version of himself, but I didn't think he was necessarily. I mean, his defense was not good today, but that's kind of part and parcel of what you get with him. So I don't know. I didn't really have a problem with his performance in terms of like, if this is his bad, I'm not going to sit here and complain about Cat tonight. Neo Schmidt, OG looking like a chew on offense. I don't know what's going on with him, man. And I gotta say, I understand Cade had 4 fouls, right? So you want to attack him.
Go at him, but like the mismatch I think was stupid. Especially when it's OG can't dribble. Like yeah. I'm so tired of these like OG stealing in the paint and then trying to like get his offense off. It's like, dude, it never works.
He keeps the ball low and then turns into the defender. Like if you do that once or twice, eventually they're going to realize what you're doing and they're going to be able to chop at the ball and get a steal. That's what happened the second time he did it. We don't need to post up OG. I'm sorry. Like it's just foolish. It's like one time you do it, fine. I'm cool with that. But like, if you want to attack Cade, and this is what I did not understand this because they were actually trying to attack Cade intelligently earlier in the third quarter, even though they weren't making some of these shots, but like they were putting him in screens, right? They're like having his man be the screen setter. And so Cade has to defend the screen. And that's kind of what I think you want to do. You want to put him in the action, not just attack. And if you put him in the action and then he switches on to Cat and then you want to post Cat, okay.
That makes sense. Yes.
That's good. That's fine. That is like actual good offense. If you're just like, oh, OG, run down the floor and get a steal as far as you can, and we're just going to straight post you. No, I'm sorry. That's not good offense. And that, again, that can be a coaching thing. But to me, that's also a Brunson thing. Brunson has to just be like, you get him the one just so like he feels good about himself. And then after that, you're like, okay, Ogugwa, like it is time to go stand in the corner again. It is time to go stand in the corner again.
Yeah, I look, man, if you make Mitch look like a savant when you're dribbling, I cannot trust you to dribble live balls in the post. I don't want to see it anymore. I don't want to see you give him 1 or 2, and that's it. I don't want to see you if he calls for it, wave him off. It's okay to wave him off. I guarantee you, like if he has a problem, you tell him to count the $212 million we paid him. I do not want to see OG in the post anymore.
I don't mind it like I don't mind it as a one-off thing. Like if you have a, just like in specific scenarios, it's fine, right? But when it's this targeted action, I'm sorry, that's like that's just not it. It's not it. And one thing I like that the Knicks have gone away from is like doing the same thing with Mikal, right? Where they were like doing that early in the season where they kept trying to post Mikal. And it's like, dude, it's fine once in a while. Like, all right, if he has Trae Young on him, cool, go for it. That's fine. But like most of these matchups, Mikal's not like some bruiser down there.
And he just tries to fade away anyway. And it's like, dude, why don't you just like give him that on the run and make it a rim attempt?
Yeah. So like them going away from that to me is fine, but like I just the OG stuff is weird. John Leary, OG gets blocked and stripped too much. Yeah, I mean it's because he can't dribble, and he keeps the ball low on these post ups. When he turns, you smack down on it. It's not rocket science. H22. When's the last time you won a close game too? Christmas Day. Christmas Day. Yeah, Christmas Day. There you go. Yeah. Retro. Josh Hart, a space cadet on off-ball defense. Mm-hmm. Agreed. Gambling way too much. And this is the stuff that was happening at the start of the season. Josh Hart gambling on bullshit. OG. Like, these guys are gambling, and they're gambling on stuff that doesn't make sense. Like, it just doesn't make sense, some of the stuff they're doing. Josh Hart, sometimes I think that stuff you have to kind of live with because it's also why he's able to get so many defensive rebounds. But there's a balance, and today was definitely the wrong side of the balance, and you saw that towards the end of the game, I think. Retro says, also not an old head, we're soft guy, but how do you see Stuart flex his jersey in your face after the game and shake his hands with the other team? See us no pride. I don't really care about that. I mean, that's just kind of like,
All these guys know each other.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
AAU, all that stuff. Like
it's not like, to me, like, the Knicks didn't lose this game because they like didn't compete hard enough against.
they just brain farted. They just brain farted the entire.
Like, yeah, like I'm not. I don't know how to I don't know how to like put this, because I do agree that they did not match the required intensity that Detroit was playing with at the start of the first quarter and the start of the third quarter. I 100% agree with that. But I don't look at this game and like feel like, oh, they got punked by Beef Stew. Like, I'm just kind of like, they lost and Beef Stew had a good game, so it is what it is. But I get how you feel. There are times I feel the same way. I did not like, in my heart of hearts, I was like slightly annoyed when Brunson was like checking into the game and smiling and giggling a little bit. I was like, come on, dude, be serious. So I get it. I totally get it. Bench scored 13 points and Deuce played 17 minutes, by the way. I don't even care about the Deuce thing, but they gotta play some of these bench guys more. I don't get the Shamet thing. I get it. Like, he did not play well necessarily in this game, and he's a guy. He's just a jag. But like, I don't really know what he's supposed to do if you just kind of pull him as soon as he has a bad sequence. It just, I don't know. I think that's weird.
Like, they tried to play the bench guys more in the first half, and it was like the distribution wasn't even that bad. And in the second half, there was just like, he was trying to, like, Tibbs was trying to find something, and it just like did not work. I
have a theory. I think that when he goes to like the bench heavy lineups, I think he's trying to find combinations he likes. But what I think is, like, when you have Cat on the floor at the bench, I don't like, you can't play Precious and Cat together with the bench guards. That can't happen. Like, that's just not going to work. That can only happen with Brunson on the floor. And even then, it's not ideal, but you can make that work. If you have the bench guards on the floor with that combination, that won't work. Also, I don't think you can have Payne, Deuce, Shamet, OG, Cat. Like, to me, that's not an actual lineup against any team that is competent, and Detroit is absolutely competent. So I don't really like that. I think he's got to find the right combinations, and that's oddly specific and hard to do with this group, so I have some sympathy for that. But I do not like Shamet just playing whatever it was, 4 minutes, and it's like, oh, you got your 3-point shot blocked, so you're out. Also, can we get this fucking guy a clean look from three once? Is that like ever going to happen? I swear he's not had one clean look from three in the last 3 games. It's fucking wild.
Yeah, like, look, man, I'm hitting up Danny Ainge with the "Hey Big Head," and I'm talking about Jordan Clarkson. I'm kind of just there. I'm kind of there. It's bad. The bench is bad, and they kind of need somebody who can drive and kick, and they don't have anybody who can do that. And it's
Payne was good in the first half with some of that shit, but like, once again they went to zone and he was like, I don't know what to do anymore in the second half. It was pretty kind of funny to watch in real time if I didn't also want to blow my fucking brains out watching it. John Leary, why does it always feel like when Mikal is on, OG is off, and vice versa? I gotta say, man, Mikal, for all his inconsistent offensive bullshit, I think he doesn't cheat me. He never cheats you on effort.
He will give you effort. He will always give you effort.
OG has just had these like honestly, you ask me, like, I remember after the OKC game, right? Josh Hart made another reference about egos. I don't know who he was calling out. I don't know if he was calling out anybody specific. I thought maybe it was initially Brunson. I gotta say, if it was somebody after tonight's game out, and I was kind of thinking who it would be about, it would be OG. Because, like, bro, this guy started the game out and he's just not doing anything. He's just standing around. Like, the one that drove me fucking nuts. Just, oh my God, I was fucking losing it. I don't remember when it was in the second half. But Cade, somebody, whoever it was, drove baseline, put up some fucking shot. Might have been Hardaway Jr. It goes, and Cat has to come over to contest it. And OG's standing there on the weak side. He's just standing there looking at the ball. Just staring. And Duran just comes in, skies, gets the ball, and then he gets put back. And I'm like, that's the shit that drives you nuts. Because you're like, what is that? Like, go for the fucking ball. And then at the end of the game, all of a sudden, he's like turning it on. And he's like fighting with beef stew for shit. I'm like, where was this? Where was this for like the last 37 minutes of game time, man? Where you been? You good? You get some Adderall during the quarter break there or something? Get your focus? Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, he's like, OG, you always will. I mean, I would have. I get you paying the contract. You do that trade a million times out of a million. It's definitely worked out. I think he had a really, really awesome stretch to start the season, but recently he has not been good. And I don't buy this whole like he's exhausted bullshit. I don't buy that for a second. I'm sorry. I think that's a cop out.
I mean, he may not be, but if I heard a elbow injury, like he gets a rest day, I would not complain at this point. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Talk to your son, man. That's your guy. That's your boy.
I know. It hurts.
We're gonna, you know what? We're retiring OG. OG is no longer what we're calling. We're calling him Ogugwa on this. Yep. Until OG returns, because this is not OG Anunoby. This is Ogugwa.
Wow. We're calling him his government name.
Yep. His alter ego.
His mama called him Ogugwa. I'm calling him Ogugwa.
Replace Sauce Gardner with OG Anunoby. You got it. Retro OG been off for a month and a half, 34% from 3 on the year, not providing any kind of impact. He's our biggest issue right now. Yeah, again, like it's not even shooting. Whatever the percentage of the percentages, and Mikal's probably shooting 34% from 3 or something too. But Mikal will keep shooting. That is like one of the things that you can't fault him for. And that comes with some good things and some bad things. But like, if he's open, he'll pull the trigger. He'll take the shot. OG is doing a lot of weird stuff where he'll have an open 3, then he wants to pump fake, and then try to do something off the dribble. And like, he had a nice dunk in the fourth quarter, which is good to see. I don't know where the fuck that was the entire previous rest of the game. But like, he's just got to be better. I mean, agreed. Defense has not been there for a lot of this season. And the last 3 weeks for sure, I think it's been off. The Christmas game, he closed that strong defensively, really, really strong defensively. But right now, he is not giving you what you need. And look, maybe it's a thing where you got to kind of view Cat as the 4 defensively and be more willing to use OG on 5s. I don't know what it is, because some of his best moments have been when he gets switched onto 5s and stuff. Maybe he needs to play Denver again, because apparently when he plays Denver or Toronto, that's when he shows up and he's like the greatest player of all time. So when do we play Denver next? Do we know? Anytime soon?
Denver, I'm pretty sure we play them in January.
All right, good. So that's when we can look forward to the return of OG. Until then, we're going to get a Gugua. Hawkeye 420, 3-5 in January, no? I think so. I believe that is correct.
Yeah. Yeah, 3-5.
Hawkeye 420. Are we sure the scheme isn't shit?
I think it's.
Hold on. There's more. I'm going to read all of it. Why do the Pistons look like OKC tonight, except that we hit timely threes? I get that they aren't garbage. I was hoping we'd be closer to OKC Boston. The Pistons being closer to us. Cade Cook and OG all night was tragic.
Cade Cook.
And OG looked like shit going to the rim for 3 quarters. I would go back to this one, though. Are we sure the scheme isn't shit? What do you think?
I think the scheme is shit because the defenders that we're employing are playing pretty shitty. And there really isn't like any other buttons you can press to like fix the scheme. But I don't think the scheme is bad, but I also think it's like you do have to have Cat be more mobile, but it's also like Cat probably is trying to preserve his files. It's just a lot of like chicken and egg where it's like Cat needs to play a certain kind of way to make sure he doesn't get in foul trouble, which means that he has to let go more baskets, but we have bad defenders, but they can't play as aggressive, and it's just like this is the argument for Mitch, where it's like, if you want Mitch to basically just get healthy, I think he should be practicing by the end of the month. But like, this is the argument for.
I laughed today. The report from Tibbs was that Mitch is doing some light shooting right now, which immediately I laughed at, because the idea of Mitch doing light shooting is very funny to me.
Mitch is on the range and shooting guns and listening to country. I know, because that was his Instagram story today. So yeah, I don't think the scheme is shit. I just think it's just like we have shitty defenders, and Does the scheme need to be altered? Yes, but I don't know what scheme you could be using to like hide the fact that Cat can't get into foul trouble.
Yep.
Because then Precious Achua is fucking playing, and I don't want to see Precious Achua minutes ever again.
I don't think the scheme is shit, but I do think that when you have slippage in execution, it is a scheme that is extremely susceptible to perimeter scores going off. And we've seen plenty of that in this recent stretch, right? SGA, again, we don't need to, we can do that. SGA, Levine, Kobe White, Jalen Williams, Cade Cunningham today. Even Sasser had a couple of nice possessions today. Like, and also 3-point shooters, right? Isaiah Joe, Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., God knows who for the Bulls. Apparently everybody on their team, Vucevic, Levine, Kobe White again. The list goes on and on. But like when you are not on a streak, it is imperative when you're playing this scheme that one, your point of attack defenders are getting over effectively, which OG did not do today, obviously. And the other is that your off-ball defenders are on a string, and they were not. They have not been in this recent stretch. And I get it. Like, I do think there's some kind of like, well, we can score 130, so we'll turn it on later. We'll do it later. But like, that's the risk you run when you get into that mindset. And I 100% think the Knicks do have a little bit of that mindset of like, well, the offense is so good that we'll figure this out as we go. We'll dial it up later. And yeah, well, this is the risk. I mean, this is what happens when you do that. Poxter, I see another second round exit the season, which would be considered a massive failure considering what we did in the offseason. I mean, I think
I don't think you can look at I don't think you can look at progress like that.
I think it just depends on the nature of your exit too.
Yeah, like if they lose to the Celtics in 6, are you going to be like, oh my god, this season's a failure? Like, no, I don't think you have to look at it as, oh, you made the first round, oh, you made the second round. So since you made the second round last year, you need to make the ECF or it's a failure. It's like, I want to see how they play against the potential Celtics. I want to see how they play in the first round. If they struggle in the first round and like in the Celtics they get beat in 4, that's a different conversation. But if they're playing like a pretty competitive series against the Celtics, and even if they lose, like it's fine. I mean, it's a multi-year process. It's a multi-year core. This is year 1. I don't think you could look at it as abstractly as you basically need to have this performance in the playoffs or it's a failure. I don't subscribe to that. Like you look at the teams like a team like Denver, they went to the conference finals and then they lost in the second round a couple times and then they won the finals. Like that's kind of how basketball works, and that's kind of how teams. That's how teams like sometimes you just match up with teams that are harder than you, and sometimes you lose.
Well, it's like the Cleveland thing. Like, do we think the Donovan Mitchell trade was a failure still? No. You know what I mean? But after the first year, all of us, myself included, were like, "Wow, what a horrible trade! They're fucked forever." Like, things change. It can, but like I do get the point. There is like an outcome, right? Like last year, again using Cleveland as an example, they got to the second round. But how many people looked at their season last year and were like, "Good season for Cleveland. They made progress." Nobody thought that.
Yeah, like everybody thought the season was failing because they're like, "How the hell do you go to 7 with the Magic?"
Yeah. So like there's a version of what you're talking about where the Knicks get to the second round, they lose, and we will look at it and be like, this was a bad season. This is a failed season. But there's a version where they like go to the second round, and let's say they play Cleveland and they lose in 6 games in a highly competitive series or something. Cleveland goes on, wins the championship. Like, are we going to sit there and be like, I mean, I'm not trying to act like we should not have championship expectations, but within championship expectations, there's like, we didn't get it done versus this season was an utter failure. And that, again, so it's subjective, but I get the point. I don't think you're wrong to feel that way. Retro, I think OG sucking on defense is 100% due to him sucking on offense. The Josh Hart ego quote was definitely about his garbage post-ups he insists on. I am starting to get on this page, on this wavelength too, Retro. I'm with you, buddy. Thoughts, Tyrese? Anything?
I I have no idea if he would be like. That just seems like such a weird Josh Hart thing to do. Like shady OG of all people. Like, I don't know. I think Josh Hart just speaks in scriptures and in tongues. I don't think it's like a specific comment, but
it might be like a subconscious thing though too, right? Like he might. It's like something he feels, but it kind of just came out. But it came out twice in a week, so I don't know. I mean, to me, I don't think he says that twice in a week after losses where they got kind of smacked around. It feels a little too like on the nose, right? It feels like there's something there that he's hinting at, whatever it is. It could be that. Sorry, trying to get to some more comments here. Schmidt says Josh Hart tries, but he gets scored on way too much the last few games, and he rather does the touch foul thing instead of contesting. The touch foul thing has gotten very annoying. It's a very RJ Barrett-esque. That was a thing RJ used to do all the time that drove me nuts. If you're gonna foul the guy, that's fine. Just fucking foul him, dude. Make sure he doesn't get that one.
Yeah, like he was just like elbow him in the back, and it's like, dude, like wrap up.
Or just let him go. At that point, just fucking let him go, man. Like, I don't care. Like, it's fine.
You choose the worst option.
Yeah, like we're already getting fried on defense anyway. No one's gonna hold it against you that you got fried too. B. Willis, we need Whitmore. He's a downhill beast. Him and Josh together, we got the need for speed.
If you want to give 20-30 swap, being my guest, I would do it, but
I think you'd have to. I don't know. I think you can maybe get that done if you give up like 2 swaps. I don't think 1 swap gets it done.
I don't think he's worth. I don't think anybody would give him 2 swaps. They probably just give him a first, but like I do think the 20-30 swap probably has value for the Rockets, and I think then the Rockets kind of don't need to consolidate. I am honestly kicking around the idea of like trading the 20-32 swap for OKC's Sixers pick, but that's just kind of my opinion. I would not hate the idea.
We can't trade that swap this season.
No, I'm saying draft night.
We can't do it draft night because that's still
right. Whatever.
I mean, you could like agree, I guess. In
principle. You get a principle. That's what I was saying.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't hate that, but I like Whitmore as like I think if you like think that here's the thing with anybody you trade for, because we're seeing it with the bench right now. Anybody you trade for, you really have to trade for that guy and know for sure that Tibbs is going to play him. You've got to know it. So if you
can't relish the shit.
Yeah, you can't go get Whitmore and Tibbs be like, fuck this guy. Like, that cannot be an outcome that happens. So if Tibbs promises to play Cam Whitmore, then I'm all for trying to go get him. If not, let's not do that. This is from Josh Hart. Ian Begley posted this. Thank you, Jordan Bubb, for bringing this here. We're losing games. I feel like we shouldn't be losing. If we're going to be the team we want to be, we've got to start correcting mistakes. Look, I appreciate Josh's candor, and I think he's right.
It's
also like it's also him, whatever. But like, at some point, as fans, you get really sick and tired of hearing this stuff. After, like, I'd rather you just say like we've got to be better and move on. I don't want to hear we're losing. If you're losing games that you shouldn't be losing, then maybe you actually did deserve to lose them. Like, I don't know what else to say other than that. Like, you can't keep saying, well, we're losing games. You're fucking losing them. So you get what you deserve. Like, this is how it works. You don't just win and lose by accident.
I miss Julius Randle press conferences, man.
What's up?
I miss Julius Randle press conferences. Zero accountability, but he always said the right thing.
Yeah, we got to look at the tape. Julius, don't act like you look at tape, pal.
Honestly, like that'd hardly be a better answer. It's on us.
Yeah, it's on us. Jordan Bubb posted this. Tom Thibodeau was asked if the Knicks are still trying to find the root of their defensive identity. You have a challenge every night in this league. We're on a back-to-back, but just find a way to get it done. I would prefer he just not even reference this back-to-back thing because I don't think it matters. I'm sorry.
You give yourself an excuse, dude. I do feel like this season, I feel like they have been giving themselves excuses a lot more than they did in previous years, and I guess maybe just because like they're trying to ease new guys in, but like
I think they're feeling the pressure. That's what I think it is.
Yeah, like this is the first time they actually have like legitimate pressure, like and expectations. And now they're like, even this quote from Jordan about where like Jalen Brunson, other Knicks at the midway point of the season, we've gotten better, but there's still a long way to go. Like, yes, you've gotten better, but do you think anybody wants to hear that right now? Like, it feels like he's trying to talk to the fan base of like, oh yeah, no, like we've improved, we're still trying to get better, and it's like, no, we understand that you guys are a good team, but it's also like you guys have not been able to play up to the competition. That's the elite, and
you're not matching. Like, this is the reality. I think it's fair for teams and whatever in general that we consider ourselves a contender and blah, blah, blah. You know what happens? Teams circle you on their schedule. This is like for Detroit, beating the Knicks is like a measuring. This is like we have to prove that we are a rising team in the East. So they're circling this game on the calendar, and this is really, really important for them. And like, because of that, you're going to get a lot of teams' best effort, and they're not going to go away if you don't make them go away. Like, you have to make them, you have to beat teams. You can't just expect them to roll over and give you the game. Like, it's not reality. So until the Knicks consistently match the intensity of opponents, especially good opponents, then they're going to be susceptible to losses like this, where, look, it's not the worst loss in the world, but to the point, like, these are losses that should be wins. Like, you should win this game. And when you don't, and when it's so, like, it's just so obvious when they are not playing with the proper intensity. It's so clear. It was clear as day in that first quarter. You're like, yeah, they're just, like, they're just not matching the level right now. It was clear against OKC, which was even more inexplicable to me. But, like, it is what it is. Rick James, again, I really hope this is your real name. We have to stop this 5-out fantasy. We need a guy we can trust in the middle so we can guard the 3. Cavs play 2 centers and they're cooking. When we get Mitchell Robinson back, I promise you we'll play with 2 centers.
Yeah, like, Mitchell Robinson, they're kind of just waiting for Mitch. They're either waiting for Mitch or I don't even know what the fuck they're doing with Mitch.
I think they're waiting for Mitch. I still don't really see him getting traded. I just don't. There's been nothing. Like, there's no smoke about it. The only thing we keep hearing is that Jericho Sims is on the trade block. So I'm sure that teams are lining up for that.
The Kings gave us a second-round pick. I feel.
You fiending for a second-round pick?
Depending on the second-round pick, I will fiend for it. There are some second-round picks I have fiend for.
Yep.
Anything that involves Phoenix, I'll take that.
Walt Clyde Fraser. Hartstein would direct traffic on defense from time to time. We missed that.
Please don't say that Devil's name in this.
I mean, look, it's not, to me, it's not so much necessarily just Hartenstein himself, but they don't communicate. Like, they are not talking. That's why I think they have so many miscommunications on defense, because guys are not on the same page. They're not communicating. They're not talking. I mean, you got fucking Ogugwa, who's like a mute half the time. Cat is like too busy fucking,
Oh my god!
Expressing himself very loudly. Brunson, he's not going to be communicating out, like, calling out defensive schemes and shit. But yeah, I mean, the larger point, I do think that Mitchell Robinson will help them with this if he's healthy and available and able to play and is effective. But, that's just a total wild card right now. I mean,
we will cherish those 15 games. Those 15 games that he's going to give us, man, they're going to be like the DEPM chart is going to go burr.
Daniel Schul, can't help thinking Cat and Brunson aren't viable together. I'm not there yet, because I think, again, we see often in the NBA, we think things aren't viable, and then they are all of a sudden. I didn't think Jared Allen and Evan Mobley were viable. I didn't think Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell were viable, and yet, here we are. It's definitely a concern. Not unfair. James, Cat doesn't even put his hands up when defending. Never seen a big not put his hands up. I have. Saw for 5 years, actually.
Yeah. He put his hands up in disgust when he got called for fouls or turnovers, or he didn't get the ball in the post. You've never seen Julius Randle blow up play and then a foul happens on the other end, and then Julius Randle goes like this afterwards because he's confused why he didn't get the ball, even though a foul is positive. on their end. It's a beautiful thing. I hope Minnesota is enjoying that, and it seems like they really, really are.
Yeah. Sorry. Again. I love how many comments we're getting on this. H22, we need to get rid of OG post-ups, man. From your lips to Tibbs' ears. Daniel Scholl, with weak PNR point of attack, you need great weak side help. If OG isn't in that role, no one in starting five can do it. Usually,
He's also the best weak. Yeah, like he's the best weak side help in the game, which is why like it's surprising that like the idea is that
we're way too focused on trying to hide Brunson. I think that's the biggest mistake in everything we're doing. We're like so fucking focused and terrified of like Brunson getting exposed, and I'm just like, dude, if a team like tonight is like again, I did not every single time they were mismatch hunting Tobias Harris on Brunson, I was fucking sitting here cheering, like ecstatically fist pumping, because I don't care about that. Who cares about that? Tobias Harris in 2025 in the post, that's what you're worried about? Like, but yeah, to the point you're making here, like, yeah, Brunson's often the low man, which makes no sense because he cannot affect anything in that position. Yeah, they need to have OG there, and they have to like pre-switch and keep it steady, but they're not doing it right now. Nafi Mulhuda. Holland cooking OG tonight for me. That was the most embarrassing sequence of the entire game. Pretty easily.
Dude, like Holland couldn't cook shit in the G League Unite, but he's cooking a fucking all defense player. OG needs to find himself. That's kind of it.
Look, I will say, remember for years we heard reports how OG wanted like more offensive responsibilities and shit.
Well, he needs to humble himself.
Somebody needs to tell OG, do you want offensive responsibilities or do you want to win a championship? You tell me. Let us know. Sorry, guys. Trying to get to as many comments as I can. Sorry. Hawkeye 420. Sam Daniel Jones tonight.
Please don't talk about my quarterback that way.
He's not your quarterback anymore.
Not yet.
Oh, Darnold you're talking about? He's your quarterback now?
Yeah, Darnold. Dude, that contract is going to be fucking gross. And it's going to happen. And I know it's going to fucking happen. And I'm preparing myself for it because we're getting Travis Hunter, and that's great. I love Travis Hunter. We are getting Sam Darnold. Like, there is no way in hell John Mara is drafting a black quarterback. The day I see it is the day that hell freezes over. Like, that's the day that fucking Greg Abbott stands up and walks. Okay? When it happens, I'll fucking believe it. Until then, Sam Darnold is my quarterback. Either him or Kirk Cousins. The only person who could probably make it work is Russell Wilson. And that presents its own issues. So.
Ian Begley posted this. Carl Anthony Towns asked a couple questions about his thumb, and if he needed x-rays, repeating, it is what it is a few times.
It is what it is. God, guys.
Omar Youssef, really feel like the Knicks got both Cade and Duran, or as Clyde would call him, Bull Durham, in early foul trouble and thought they had it in the bag. Maybe.
I was upset when Duran left. I was like, no, that's the guy you want the game. Why would you go at him?
Yeah, don't draw a foul on him, Jalen. What the fuck?
He's going to backpedal. Like, why are you taking him out the game? Stewart's good.
Yeah. Rick James, Precious becomes trade eligible on January 15th, just saying. Well, if you tell me, go sort contracts by everybody making less than Precious, and that's who you can trade for. So if you find somebody in there that you can actually get and is good,
please
let me know.
Please, Pat Riley, please.
Alec Burks, come on down.
It's going to fucking happen, dude. That's the worst part about it because it makes so much sense. It's like, oh, the contracts work. You could probably just swap the players. I don't even no fucking Miami doesn't have second round picks. God damn it. We're going to give a second round pick and the better player for Alec fucking Burks.
Jalen Brunson post-game asked about the too late Beasley threes, not getting to Beasley quick enough in rotation, things we work on as a team in terms of rotating. There's absolutely no way they work on this. Like, and I mean very specifically those 2 end-of-game rotations they had to make, because they never do that normally. Like, they only do this at the end of games. They only do it at the end of games. It's like the only time it ever happens. They used to be able to do this much better when Quickly was here, because he was good at making that rotation and then getting back to the corner. But they don't really have that right now. So I don't know.
They have it in Shamit, but Shamit doesn't play. Like, that's the worst part. Like,
Shamit does work his ass off.
Yeah, like Shamit's actually good at that recovery, but that recovery is that's a lot. Like, to go from basically like opposite wing to opposite corner, like that's a lot of Brown's cover up. But Shamit is able to do it, but they don't play Shamit. So
yeah. Daniel Schuler, Shamit was culprit on the Malik Beasley run. He let him get open a few times. Yeah, he did.
it was
Smart. No, Shamit did a couple of times too.
Not I was never switched again.
I don't even know how to pronounce this. SHSBXB SBSB. Who gives a shit about the fucking bench? The defense isn't anywhere near Civic Championship level. I care about the bench, tell you that.
I care about the bench because we don't have a bench. Our bench is campaign and a heater, and that's it.
I care about the bench. Jordan Bubb, midseason report of OG McCall right now, meeting expectations below expectations, exceeding expectations, and explaining why. I would say, honestly, with McCall, I'm pretty fine with him. Like, if you want to say on overall, he's not met expectations, I think that's fair. But I feel pretty good about the way he's trending overall, even though he has had this really bad shooting slump recently. OG, definitely below expectations for me. I know he started off hot, but this defensive slump he's in has been bad, and I do think some of this is down to like him being moody about not getting enough touches offensively or whatever.
I think McHale is what he is. He's never going to be worth 5 picks, but also the Knicks paid 5 picks for a reason instead of doing this one thing and trading Deuce, but whatever. Yeah, I think he's meeting his expectations in terms of like what he is as a player, like, and OG is definitely below. OG prior to the OG to the Denver game, definitely above, and then now since he's been below. So yeah,
we have to address Carlton Cantor already. All right, I'm just gonna say this: if you're gonna just blame. Carlton Towns has been fucking awesome for the Knicks. Like, yeah, the defense is bad. We knew that coming in. He's more than carried his weight. I am not pointing any fingers at Carlton Towns for anything this season so far. They knew who they were training for. They need the guys that are supposed to be good defenders to play good defense. Pretty simple to me. Boxer, we genuinely need a bench. Our defense seems so easy to wear out by the end of games. We keep getting killed in the clutch.
We have had a lot of clutch games. That's the problem. Like, the fourth quarter net rating looks what it is because the Knicks have usually been like smoking teams in 3 quarters, and then like the fourth quarter is just them kind of like dicking around, and then the bench coming in. So like, yeah, we've lost close games, but we haven't had a lot of close games to lose. In all fairness.
I agree. I was thinking about this today. It just feels like I agree we have lost a lot of games in clutch, but it's like we just haven't played. It feels like we're generally either up huge or down by like 15, and it's not really a clutch situation. I do think there's something to be said of this team is not built to like make comebacks and probably isn't fully capable of it, which is down to their defensive weaknesses. But so the larger point of the defense being a problem, I totally agree with. Adabambo Adejobi says, no clue why we voluntarily compromise our defense and hand the opponent free advantages game after game. These bullshit Brunson hedging recovers give us no chance. Better off just letting JB guard. I agree. I think they should be 100% way more willing to let JB guard on an island. I don't think he gets blown by all the time. I think most of the time when guys take advantage of him, it's a size thing. But I'd rather deal with that than to the point you're making where you're just in rotation and guys getting open threes because of it.
Yeah, I think they actually let Brunson kind of like hold his own a little bit more defensively. Like there was a possession on Cade where like, he forced Cade to like a bad shot and he was able to like get the rebound and recover. They have been letting him guard more in space, and it's been, as you expect, like pretty down. A couple of positive moments. But yeah, like at times you do see them like really cover for Brunson and basically are like dedicated to making sure that he's not put into actions, and it's like you kind of have to let him. You have to let him fly. He's a peacock. You got to let him fly.
Yeah. Omar Yusuf, we aren't an old team, obviously, but you can get old pretty fast in the NBA. Really think the Knicks need to concentrate on targeting 25 and under guys to round out this team because these young teams are overwhelming us already.
Put me in, coach. Put me in.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that this has been an issue, and I think these young teams know that. That's why they're pushing in transition so consistently when they play us. They definitely need more youth. I mean, I don't think it's debatable. I think it's why they drafted 3 or 4 young guys effectively last year, and we'll see what they are in a year's time or 2 years' time or whatever. But definitely need more young legs. Retro, who's training for Mitch without seeing him play, and what are we getting that would be better than Mitch being added to anchor our defense? If there was a magical Mitch for Herb trade, sure. Yeah, I mean, that's where I've been all year. Akiva, why doesn't Tibbs incorporate more pre-switching to keep JB Cat out of actions? I don't know. I'm with you. I don't know. That's usually what teams do when they have bad defenders they want to hide instead of just putting them in the action and then having chaos reign as a result.
That's all I got for you.
Trying to just get to as many as before he closes out. Turnovers, obviously not getting to Beasley fast enough in rotation, but all things we control, so it's tough. Jalen Brunson, what made the difference on the stretch in 124 or 119? Well, maybe you should control them. I mean, I still just think don't just switch it. I don't care if Cade is going to try to cook you in an ISO. That's fine. Like, Cade in ISO is like, yeah, he's a pretty good scorer. He's going to take a mid-range jumper. So that's fine. I think you have to live with that when it's a 1-point game that late. Schmidt. Cat's injury scares me, but maybe starting Sims will fix this team.
Well, he's the second best center on the team, so yes, that makes sense. I would play Sims more and get away, but that's just me.
Precious and Retro says Precious in all our seconds for someone that is good. Time to chip up. I would love Precious in all our seconds for somebody good. Whoever that is, let me know. I'm all for it.
All 7 of those seconds we got. Make them work.
Tay 2 and 2. I question if Brunson and Cat know what they're doing in defense. Look, Cat, I think they both know what they're doing on defense. They're just not good defenders. And Brunson, I actually think, gives pretty good effort fairly consistently on defense. It's not usually my issue with them.
Yeah.
Tay 2 and 2. Mikal started playing defense and OG told us he'll be back later. I'll let you go with this one. Jordan Bub asks, what are your thoughts on Tibbs halfway through the season, and explain why?
Do you want the profanity-laced version, or do I have to be civil about this? Because I think he's been a fucking idiot. I understand that he's working with limitations, granted, with the bench. I think the defense has been more of a problem than the offense. I just think that, again, the lack of switching, the ability to, like, recognize what things are killing you. Again, like, the short mid-range being as lethal as it is against this team makes no sense. I think there are limitations. I can understand why he's having some difficulties, but it's also, like, the problems keep appearing, and it's, like, it just kind of feels like they're ramming their head into the wall, trying to figure it out, and it's like, no, dude, like, you know what the issues are. So I think he's been, like, pretty mediocre for this season. Obviously, the offense is really good. The talent is going to be able to win him games, but it's also like you have to be able to maximize it, and I don't think he's been maximizing the talent as well as he can. Compared to, like, last year when he, like, maximized the talent to the best of his ability.
this feels a lot like it feels like he's trying to get players to do things that he wants versus what they're best at and what is most likely to result in them having the most success they can have. I do not think he's coached I don't think he's been like a disaster. I don't think he's been good. I think he's been okay. Like I think a lot of coaches could get this team to 26-15. I don't think he's doing anything outstanding. Offensively, I'm pretty impressed with a lot of the stuff we've seen, even though there's still plenty of things I think that we need to still clean up. Defensively, I'm very unimpressed by what I've seen from Thibodeau so far. I'll be completely honest. I am not impressed by it. I'm hopeful that he can adjust because he has done that before. And in general, the Knicks have been a much better second half of the year team in a lot of ways than they have been in the first half. Last year was a little weird in that sense, but they generally close season strong, so I'm hopeful for that. But, if you're going to give him a report card, I guess, I would probably give him like a C+ or something. I don't know. It's been pretty average. Probably the best way I can put it.
Yeah, and that reflects the team. The team has been pretty average.
Yeah. H22. Nah, Precious is actually so garbage now, man. Nowhere near what he was last season.
This is what he was last season. You guys didn't watch hard enough.
No, he was better. This is like actually terrible. This is beyond terrible.
He played 40 minutes a night. He was just.
But he was a fine 20 minutes. You were like, okay, I know what he's doing.
He was like it was 40 minutes a night. He basically had a stretch where he played like 40 minutes a night.
Which was insane because he was like, you're playing the 4 next to Hartenstein. Like, why? Why am I doing that?
It was legitimately the peak of gutter hoops. It's like, why the hell is Precious should have like 15, 13, and 4? And it's like, oh, he played 43 minutes. That's why. But they won games. Actually, no, they didn't even win games during that stretch. That was the funny part. Like, the offense was garbage. They were at 22nd in offense, and then Precious got benched, and then they went to, like, 3rd. It was hilarious.
Yeah. Precious is... But, it's like, so even the Precious thing, this, to me, also speaks to Tibbs not having a great season. Like, Precious is not... He's never going to be a good drop defender, ever. You don't have a good drop defender other than Mitch at the 5. You don't have it. So if you're just going to play that as your base, you're going to get fried a little bit. And I'm not making excuses for Precious because I don't think his focus and execution has been good at all. But again, I want to go back to that Spurs game on Christmas Day. Go watch how they adjusted in the final 5-6 minutes of that game with Precious and OG, where they're switching off more. That's what Precious is good at. He's a good switch defender. You're asking him to play drop. He's not going to drop. So you're going to get more of these brain fart bad moments. Like, that's just not good coaching. I'm sorry. And Tyrese mentioned it earlier, like, that just me saying, like, we'll have Precious switch more. That's not going to fix everything. I'm not saying it is. But you'll get a better version of Precious, which means you'll probably be a better team because he's playing every night.
And if you want to do this, if you want your centers to play drop, play Sims. Play Sims.
Yeah, Sims is actually good in drop this year.
Yeah, Sims is your best drop defender on the team right now, aside from Mitch when he's healthy. Like, if you are going to stick to I'm playing drop with my center, play Sims and play Sims with Cat. But he's not going to do that because he clearly does not trust Sims next to Cat for whatever reason. But he trusts Precious because he thinks Precious could put the 4 next to Cat, and it's like,
They have like no chemistry either. It's so weird watching them on offense. Where I'm like, what is happening here? Why? Like, where is any of these possessions going? Daniel Schul, would you rather have the Pistons record but have invested in the younger players, or sit where we are now? Their players looking tired. Again, I don't buy this tired thing. I just think it's like what people say every time you lose. What were they tired from today? None of them had a big workload yesterday. Nobody played a shit ton of minutes yesterday, and like. They didn't even play that much in the first half. There was like a pretty solid rotation for Tibbs as far as Tibbs is concerned in the first half. I didn't think they looked tired. I think they just did not match the intensity. And like they were tired at the start of the first quarter, the third quarter. Like, I don't buy that. I think they just lacked focus and they were sloppy. And I think it's a cop-out for the players to just say it's them being tired. Now, that does not mean I would not like a bench. I would like a bench. I think it'd be nice. I think there'd be benefits to it so that like the solution to every time we struggle isn't getting the starters back in the game. But right now we don't have that bench. And Deuce has been in a slump. Payne is just the most up and down player of all time. Shamet is definitely not up to speed yet, and Tibbs' leash with him is extremely quick. Precious has been bad. Like, that's your bench, and they're not delivering at all. So I don't know that there's an easy answer here. Can the Knicks find one? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Akiva, Precious dribbling on the arc with Cat open at the top of the key. I almost broke my TV.
Oh, Precious.
Yeah. All right. I think we're going to end it here. Thank you to everybody that was in the chat today. Thank you for all the comments. Appreciate it. Tyrese, anything you want to plug before you get out of here?
Follow me on Twitter at let me think. What do I want to be today? I'm thinking about it. I have an idea. Follow me at _Zach Blatter on Twitter. You can clearly tell it's me from my profile picture. Because it's clearly my face. Yeah, I love wrestling. I love hoops. I love being 6'2" and tall for whatever reason. Graphic design is my passion. Shout out to Top Baseball Cards.
He's a big Cowboy. Tyree's also a big Cowboys fan.
That's gross.
I have nothing to plug. So just, I don't know when me and Stacey are recording. Maybe tomorrow. If you really want to hate listen to something, we'll get that out for you soon. But yeah, that's it. All right, that's our pod for today, or our post game for today. Thanks to everybody again in the chat for joining us. Thank you for the comments. Knicks are 26-15. They'll be back in action on Wednesday when we welcome Tyrese's favorite player of all time, Julius Randle, back to the Garden. And
Wednesday's a Philly.
Oh, that's right. Wednesday's Philly and Friday. We welcome back Tyrese's favorite player of all time, Julius Randle. Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. Thank you to sponsor Bet Online, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.